Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the largest Terran player out there. In the red, it's HeroMarine, aka Big Gabe, up against the #1 player from Sweden. In the blue, we have Fiance. In a best-of-3 Terran versus Zerg showdown as part of the $10,000 Homestory Cup 28 tournament. And before we get started, and we're getting started pretty early, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button or maybe even subscribe. Help me kind of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,795 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than Big Gabe with, unfriendly neighbors on his doorstep. The SCV goes outside, immediately regrets that decision, decides to take a second look. Indeed, the Hatchery Owners Association is getting a little more aggressive than usual. There's a hatchery at his natchery. And I love this. My favorite part of this is so clearly this is aggressive. He slaps it down. It isn't even on the location you'd usually mine from. I mean, it's so close. It's almost spiteful to be just that far off. But the SCV, not to be intimidated. Yes, a hazardous working environment, but they say it's not even dangerous till it finishes. But there are Zerglings and a queen on the way. The bunker will complete. He slapped it down before the creep because of, obviously, construction restrictions afterwards. And the Marines, two brothers, will fight against the hatchery all on their own, but the SCV job's finished. And, well, I do wonder if there's a reason he slapped it down in this location. Maybe just for the vision. Maybe just because he could. But the Marine is hunted down inside its own base and ripped apart by a single ling. There's still the two in the bunker. The bunker overrun by the creep, which is just mostly for grossing them out. And I've arrived! I'm saying, life is short. Maybe yours. A creep tuber in the corner, just to make everything a little more difficult, and decides to just ignore the bunker and work on the front door. There's a Hellion done. Zergling speed is on the way. Back at home, Fiance has 2 bases of his very own, so a 3-base play, but not exactly how you'd expect. The creep is reaching up all the way to the doorstep, but, of course, you can't pass those supply depots without breaking them down. Now, maybe challenging the bunker. He can bring units down from the high ground. He has to make a decision very soon. No second queen was produced, instead focused on the Zergling. Zergling speed is almost done. At this point, he can maybe just target down the hatchery. And he's going for it. The SCV's trying to repair. The bunker's going to get ripped apart. The Marines are coming down the ramp. The hatchery is not that low. Oh no, the queen incinerated by the Hellion at the last moment, but the door's open. You had one job, and it wasn't the creep's fault. Of all the things, it's a disaster, and he just leaves it. Yeah, come on in. Yeah, continue. An escalating issue. The Zerglings in the main, ripping apart the SCVs. This is literally the only way this could have done more damage. And HeroMarine now says, well, we got them all trapped inside, and we were able to take them out. And all it cost us was approximately half of all of our workers. So, if nothing else, think of the shareholders. But now drones in production as Fjant, getting more than he ever should have, and probably about as much as he ever could have. The drones, yes, this is a macro play. Macro, Roni, and cheese, but hold the macro. It's just Roni and cheese. No, moving on. A little bit supply block, though the hatchery doesn't provide that much supply. The creep, a single Marine, gonna try to delay the creep tumor, but I don't think it's quite enough. And, well, maybe could use siege tanks to take it out. The Zerglings helping direct the fire of the tank. And now, of course, back at home, 2 queens and 3 gas geysers. With only 30 drones, Fiance is not going to go transition into some sort of big macro play. It's going to be the next step up. Maybe multiple steps. I'm predicting Mutas. All right, I've played these sort of Zerg players before. I think everyone has. The thing is, it doesn't matter what you predict. The game, because he lost all those workers, thankfully for HeroMarine, he doesn't have that abundance of scans that Terrans usually do when they open up with 3 CC and have those orbital commands. No, that was his only scan. If he wasn't able to clear up all the creep tumors with a single one, It would delay his command center even further. But letting the Zerg... Who... Come on. One job. I mean, several jobs, but there was one big job. And it was not letting the Zerglings in the base. It's been the same since 1998. Don't let the Zerglings in the base. Unfortunately, now we're here. And he has to deal with it. A spire on the way. As, even though it's somewhat predictable, HeroMarine is not going to have the baseline production, nor necessarily the infrastructure. He's gone for the 1-1-1 behind his Banshee Cloak on the way. Of all the things to potentially get something done, these two gases are incredibly suspicious. Okay, not a little bit, a lot of bit suspicious. And even if he doesn't end up scanning the main or scouting it with the medevac, which is still a possibility, I think there's, he knows. He's got his strong suspicions. There's no reason the third base isn't done, yet you have the gases and the medevac's just boosting for the main. The queens? This is restricted lair space. So you have a lair done then. Susan, I told you not to give away that information. Oh, shut up. He knows. Don't underestimate the Terrans. Watching that propaganda again. Well, he saw the spire. Sorry, I blacked out for him. The medevac, though. And no boost. Oh, knocked out of the sky. Finally. Gets a revenge. And a small victory, but a meaningful one, especially at this stage of the game. Not having to think about that medevac, not having to chase it down with the mutas. And yes, HeroMarine knows this is on the way. He's just now building an engineering bay. He's bottled up on 2 bases, but he's caught up on the worker count. The Zerglings are just running in, though. Immediately running back out on seeing the sheer amount of Hellions. And Fjant going to do whatever he can to keep HeroMarine off balance. Though, with someone of such gratuitous mass, not your mother, a HeroMarine, it's almost impossible to do so. He's got the Cyclones, he's got missile turrets to zone out. Cyclone's very good against medium numbers of mutas, as the lock-on rips them apart quickly. And you can micro against them in ways that many other units can't really afford to. But once the muta count gets well into the double digits, it's hard to have enough Cyclones available where you need them. So we'll see what Fiance decides to do when he realizes that HeroMarine, he already realized. He saw the factory. He knows HeroMarine has taken us to McDonald's. And yes, despite his name, he seems to prefer that strategy lately, because Flash is weak and malleable. And we'll see whether he can prove that against Fiance, or whether the Zerg flesh will prove superior. Yep, uncomfortable, yet accurate. Battling speed is done. He jumps the Hellions. Zerglings to try to muck up anything that the Cyclones try to do against the mutas. The siege tank is working against HeroMarine for the most part now, but the Cyclone's able to retreat to the mineral line, snipes off the tank. But a couple mutas on the way in and the way out. Overall, middling. He lost 6 mutas for 0 Cyclones, though 4 Vikings were mixed in, and they drew the fire. Overall, HeroMarine now has a worker lead. He has 3 bases online against a 3-base Zerg, and the chances of the mutas being the deciding prospect have drastically dropped. HeroMarine does not have Magfield Accelerator, nor is it in production. 50% more damage on each of those lock-on missiles. But the Cyclones are still very capable of knocking the mutas out of the sky anyways. So, Fiant, at this, you have to make a hard decision. Do you double down, or do you try to swerve into another part of the tech tree? And he's already committed so far into the muta list. Even if it's such a muta risk, it's one he's willing to take. And they still easily outmaneuver the clones. But one good set of lock-ons. And whatever sort of map control that the mutas at least pretend to afford him will easily be knocked out of the sky in gory and dramatic chunks. It is very satisfying yet horrifying simultaneously. Like so much entertainment. Like and subscribe. Wow, high-sec auto-tracking on the way. As obviously the engineering bay upgrades for infantry are not particularly valuable. Interesting scan on the 3rd. Maybe suspecting some tech there, or maybe just getting a track of the economy. Because he knows about the 4th base as well. An infestation pit is on the way. Overlord speed. The muta count growing dramatically. And +1 attack. +1 flyer attack is done. +1 melee has started. Armor upgrades for HeroMarine. Because most of the damage of Cyclones and Hellions is in their upgrades or their ability, which are unaffected by weapons or armor. So getting the armor upgrades makes a lot of sense. It also applies to your air units, unlike the weapons upgrades as well. So a good catch-all in every sense is starting out with the armor. Magfield accelerators on the way, as well as Drilling Claws. Gonna take out a refinery, but that high-sec auto-tracking turret finishes mid-fight and knocks one of the mutas out of the sky. Gonna micro against the Widow Mons. Now we have the little dude in the... Notice how the dude is no longer there? With high-sec auto-tracking, it gets replaced by automation. Just like so many of us. This message brought to you by Winter GPT. Like and subscribe. Well, Overseer's taken out, but the Cyclone count has grown. They continue to double their numbers as they divide and plan to conquer. These 14 Cyclones against 25 mutas. And the threat of any Widow Mines is a dramatic one, especially at this stage of the game. Even if the mutas could win a fight heads up, and that's usually where the mutas are, but it's way too risky to engage directly. So, Fjant has a hive, and he's going for an Ultramus Cavern, which is a bold move against one of the best unit compositions against Ultralisks. So, Cyclones, with their ability damage, are incredibly good. Well, okay, here come the Zerglings from one side, the mutas from the other, but the Zerglings are incinerated by the time the mutas come around. The Cyclones are able to lock on. The mutas just getting blasted out of the sky. The Banelings desperately trying to find something to do with their short lives, and instead will die with almost no kills to their name. A disastrous fight. If we could even call it that. I'd call it cyberbullying, but the Cyclones are so good at dictating the fight on their terms. And nobody ever really reads the terms and conditions. Ultra's on the way. He's not getting chitinous plating, though. This is one of the few scenarios where it might not matter. As, again, that Cyclone and Widow Mines are doing ability damage, which just completely ignores the armor. And HeroMarine, Fiance has tried to keep him off balance, but that stability that he brings to Terran might be just too strong. Well, the Widow Mines are zoning out for the relatively small amount of Cyclones. He's still building plenty back at home. The drones are on the run, but there's nowhere really to run to. The mutas locks on, dodges back. He's juggling the Cyclones out. Kills a Widow Mine, but gonna kill even more of the drones. 20 drones dead. And it's not getting any easier for Fiant here, as his unit composition is... If he was up 2 bases and 30 workers, it would still be kind of tough. But it's even worse when it's the opposite. Right now, we have to hope that HeroMarine decides to take a pizza break or something, like he seems to commonly do at some of these tournaments. In fact, he did an entire tournament, Big Games Experience tournament held at a land center, where he didn't participate. The entire tournament, he was just making pizza for everyone. They had a pizza cam. This is not coming out of no. It feels weird to be making this a whole bit. But HeroMarine made it more than that. It's at least a bite of delicious pizza made by Mech Terran truly. Well, Infester's on the way. The only chance. In fact, he's just getting chitinous plating, not ultra. I would argue ultra speed is a better chance of getting anything done with these ultras. But it is but a sliver of a dream at this stage. Those infestors are absolutely required just to even have a chance to hit the Cyclones. It would be worth sacrificing like half your army just to kill the infestors, so the other half could kite the ultras to the ends of the earth. Without creep, without speed, they are literally slower than the Cyclones. And the Cyclones can attack while moving. With range. Like, pretty extreme range. I'm just, like... I'm not a mathematician, but the numbers... Ooh, well... Of all the units to have casually scouting, the Infestor does seem like a risky one, to say the least. And the Cyclones. He knocked out the base in the center. The Infestors, 12 seconds on Burrow. Oh, he locks on! 1, 2... He sacrifices just a few clones for the greater good. And who's the Zerg now? The Cyclones outflanking the Ultralisks and will chase them down. And the Ultras looking like big, hulking, beautiful targets. As the Ultras can't even get anywhere close. They can barely stay on the same screen as the Cyclones. As HeroMarine has dictated the pace of the game and Fjant simply unable to keep up. The Vikings kind of wandering forward. Don't know, well. And, yep, well, more Infestors on the way, but not known for their agility either. And those Ultras do not have speed. Not that I think it would matter much at this point. We're watching quite a prolonged death animation for the Zerg. But HeroMarine has 3,200, 2,300 in the bank. He has like 7 bases. He has 200 supply. And he has a matchup that isn't Terran versus Protoss, so he's having a great time. Well, the Hellbats, some Zerglings at the back to try to help hold him down. The Ultras are thinning out. The Cyclones as well. But the Ultras more quickly. GG. Fiance is knocked out as clearly past the Mutalisk, he ran out of cards to play. And HeroMarine was more than ready to call him on it. Still, quite an amusing game. And there were a few moments. But Big Gabe brings out the big mech plays. And he locks it down yet again. Honestly, I think underestimating. He let the Zerg... You know, that was just nice of him. To let the Zerglings in his base. If he had closed the depot in time, I feel like that game would, well, I doubt we could even run ads. Like... But game 2, Ruby Rock. Let's see, Fiance is pretty well known in that same school of Bly and, dare I say, well known to be a designated pressure Zerg, who has a lot of creative builds that almost exclusively revolve around the first few minutes of the game. And that doesn't necessarily make them easier to hold. Sometimes it's very easy to psych yourself out and overreact to the early game cheeses. Subtlety, it seems like, is the order of the day. No, never mind. Does he place it a little off center? Yeah, why not? It might just be for vision. Like, just in case, I don't know if the SCV would catch a glimpse, but you go a few more seconds, maybe, without getting scouted. And maybe if a player legitimately just scouts far enough to see that. Is it a big deal? It's a slight difference. It makes it... Oh, okay, I'm talking myself into it. Siege tanks. That hatchery's out of range of siege tanks on the high ground. There's a method to the madness. I'm willing to... At this surprise! Again? Here we are. But, yeah. So, I'm willing to bet at this stage. And it was Homestory Cup, so I believe Fjant probably expanded upon his unique thought process. But I think this is designed to be dislodged as most difficultly as possible. Just like that sentence was designed to be as confusing and incoherent as probable. To maximize my own confusion. Moving on. Jimmy, just edit. Yeah, that whole bit. Or, I don't know, just... SCV gonna scout the other side. So, it's just kind of here. A placeholder. He's building a queen, he's building some wings, but he didn't commit. He's not like building spine crawlers. So HeroMarine has one job here. Once again. Well, several jobs, but don't let the Zerglings in your base. Okay, we'll see how it goes. The Zerglings come out, the SCV's the queen. Having a field day taking him out. And might even be able, he softens up on Marine, taking out the queen, 3 kills. Looking for an opportunity of a creep tumor here. And might even be able to get the heli, but the SCVs will repair it. Looks for other targets. I mean, at this stage, just buying a little more time. Clearly not going to get the creep tumor. Doesn't bother with it. A few more Zerglings. And another Marine. I mean, well, another queen is in production. So... Huh. $14 Zerglings. Another quip. I'm arrived! Oh. Ooh, this looks bad. This one will likely get a... And even back spreading the creep. Interesting choice. At the very edge. Right where HeroMarine doesn't see it, though probably suspects it. Unfortunately, there's enough Zerglings! And not again! One job! But, well, the queen walks up the ramp. No more queens on the way, but the SCV is just kind of in an awkward position at the doorstep. The Hellions will survive. Queens and Zerglings getting an And now more Zerglings get in. Well, the Hellions, one is repaired. The other one could be taken out. A single Zergling gets it. Drops a couple Ah! I'm not locked in here with you! I mean, literally, yes, but figuratively, no. Meanwhile, well, one queen versus the only army units, one Hellion and a medevac. So, working on the reactor from the inside, the medevac's out of energy from healing the SCVs. I think the reactor will go down. Like, the queen, another queen, did that queen walk all the way? I'm here, Brenda. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough creep, but doesn't even matter. This time around, HeroMarine didn't commit to the bunker, and this time around, he will die for it. He tried to cut some corners, but if you cut too many corners, you don't have an edge. And Fjant, with the very bold, yet surprisingly effective commitment, gets the game and drags one back, kicking and screaming through the doorway. He let the Zerglings in. It didn't get easier from there. But this time around, no bunker. And I think that the defining characteristic as underestimating how much just a few Zerglings could do, because a trickle can easily become a flood. And well, game 3. And enough floods and you find yourself 10,000 feet under. The drones are all in the base so far. This map, a significantly longer rush distance than either of the two before, which I feel confident in saying, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 83%. It's definitely a longer... Ruby Rock is one of the shortest. I'm not sure about Old Republic. But I'll just say it with confidence and try to convince people, because I'm seen as someone who knows what they're talking about. So on the internet, you can just say whatever you want. Who would just go on the internet and tell lies? Okay? If you want the full truth and nothing but the truth, all you have to do is like and subscribe. And then send $500 a month to my podcast, where I'll tell you all about maximum truthiness and facts and science and things like that. Yes. And pay for my lawyer. Anyways, that hatchery is at the natural. A Fiance side of the map. A bold move. In the lack of bold moves. Well, we'll see what he has in store. I have my suspicions this won't just be your standard cookie-cutter macro game. As this type of Zerg player, there've only been a handful of Zerg players throughout all of StarCraft 2 history, and almost all of them are named Dark, who've been able to so quickly switch gears between that full, like, timing cheese and macro play. I'm even trying to think of anyone else. Rogue, kind of, but not really historically. Honestly, Dark is the only top-tier player that comes to mind, at least in the recent past. Bly was another timing Zerg, and is, though he doesn't play as much anymore, but never the macro Zerg. So, it is inordinately hard, especially for Zerg players, to have that sort of diversity of strategies and have consistent success, just because of the mechanics of Zerg themselves. He killed a drone. Oof. Oof. Oof, owie, my drones. That's not supposed to happen. Feels incredibly rough, whatever it does. And, of course, the Terran's taking an undue amount of satisfaction in it. "14 Zerglings. Chicanerous and deplorable. Brenda, come back! No! Meanwhile, the Zerglings. Most of them slipping along the side, while a few engaging the Reaper Hellion. So far, Fiant masking it well, giving him a real chance to sneak by, while Big Gabe is looking the other way. And, oh, but he gives it away! And I get, how? Why? I know where, I know who, I know when, but again, the Zerglings get in, but this time there's enough Hellions. The thing is still some dead SCVs, more pulled off the line. There's 4 Hellions here, which means it shouldn't be too bad, as 3 is enough to kill Zerglings in a single line of literal fire. Well, was it worth it? 24 Zerglings for a smattering of SCVs, a few units. I would say no. The threat of the Zerglings is good, and Fiant ground out a little space, but the fact that HeroMarine has 3 command centers, he's dropping the mules, as well as going for the 3-2-1-1. Getting the stim and angling for double medevac as soon as possible. Well, that's going to put him in an awkward spot. And when you invest that much larva in Zerglings early on, it makes it a lot harder to catch up in the worker count. So you could see that he had quite a worker lead a bit earlier. But a few rounds of injects went into those early Zerglings. So only now is he able to get another swell of economy. And of course, well, Queen just hanging out over here. I think lost and maybe forgotten, but I'll see. Building up that energy, which is never ideal. Gonna be 50 drones layer on the way, more gases. So I think not unlikely. And now HeroMarine, for the first time in a while, never really got to see where he was going last game because he kind of just died, is going for the bio. Double engineering bay, obviously already has stim and double medevac. Combat shield on the way. Neither side gonna have upgrades super quickly because of the early antics here, but we'll be following it up momentarily. There's the double evolution chamber out of Fiant. Hellion zoning out the Zergling counterattack while the Marines go for a more direct approach. And the stim, medevac's right behind. There's enough Zerglings if the medevacs weren't here, but unfortunately they are. And the Hellions dart into the natural, and he can't afford to lose many drones here, and unfortunately, 8 drones and some Zerglings with it. Another shot, but they regenerated just enough. Quite a hit. Not game-ending, but certainly not helping the cause. 1-1 upgrade start for Fiance as well. Has not committed to any sort of lair tech yet besides Baneling speed. Just zoning out the medevacs. Queen's still hanging out in the main. Karen, come back! No, I'm taking a mental health day! I need a mental health day dealing with Karen. I heard that! No. Sorry. Hydralis done. As Fjant gonna do his best impression of your standard mid-game Zerg. HeroMarine, though, is progressing nicely. And oh my! Yeah, that's what you get. Queen gets taken out. Oh, and there's a ledge there! The Reaper Cliff. The Marines just hanging out on it. Not the widest sort of ledge, which means you can't fit the entire army down there, but still quite annoying to deal with. Gonna target the medevac and gets it at all the Marines inside. And definitely, he desperately needed something like that, as the momentum of the Marines and the medevacs and the tanks on their way across the map is very hard to stop once it gets going. But undercutting it by taking out a full medevac of Marines is the best chance Fiant has as the Zerg rocks bleed out. Or I guess just kind of get dehydrated and die, which is less dramatic, but hard supply blocked. HeroMarine has quite a supply lead. 1-1 upgrade's done. Fiant would love to wait another 30 seconds. He just goes for the counterattack. The SCV's gonna bear the brunt of it. He actually pulls back with the Marines. Now, the reinforcements at the wall will easily drive the Zerg back for now. And the Marines outflanking. Yeah, again, who's flanking who? Whom's flanking who? No. Single Marine got off to the side, the tank abandoned, hoping no one notices. HeroMarine does first, thankfully. Hydralis on the way. That bold counterattack has done enough to take the pressure off. Oh, the tank! The Zerglings find it! And there's no one to help it. The tank gets taken out, and little victories across the board here. Dragging the entire army back, knocking out a full medevac, catching a free tank. Unfortunately, the units are completely out of position to deal with the drops. The evolution chambers are vulnerable, will be targeted. And oh no, +2 melee attack is down for the count. That will certainly not help the long-term prospects. Evolution chamber gets restarted immediately, but that is a big blow to the potential effectiveness of the army. And again, the Lings and Banes, the tanks will siege. Fjant goes forward, but the Banes being exhausted on the siege tanks. Most of them get taken out with ease. And Big Gabe opens up a 20 supply lead. Not quite. 2-2 upgrades, not too far off. 4th base is online, 77 workers apiece. They drop in the main, another medevac full of Marines knocked out of the sky. Another cut into the momentum, but it continues sliding towards the Terran. As the creep spread is desperately thin. The Queen's trying to figure it out, but the push, there's no creep outside of this base, just the hatch itself. Trying to drag out some of the Widowmon hits. Unfortunately, they follow him home and take some drones with it. HeroMarine, 2-2 just now finished. Fjant never even restarted the +2 melee attack. He's under pressure. He hasn't yet cracked, but the Widow... Oh! Terrible, terrible damage. About the best you could ever hope for with a Widowmon. The Banelings don't even get tracked there, but they definitely should be. That's, HeroMarine even took out some of the Marines. He started 3-3. He's adding Marauders and Liberators into the composition as the Queen's meandering around, trying to figure out what's going on, but unfortunately a little bit too late to save the base. His units ran off anticipating a counterattack of some sort, but HeroMarine just reinforced the push at the 4th base. And now there is no 4th base. Well, he took one down the center, but another massive mine hit, and Fjant drops 40 supply. It's a disaster. There's not quite enough Marines to break the Hydralis count, but reinforcements are on their way across. And HeroMarine has stabilized. It's going to become very difficult from here. He's given away a few units here and there, but he might lose a battle or two, but he's certainly winning the war. The Hydra's still chasing. The Marauder's not so great against the mass Hydra composition. But the DPS of the Terran army seems too damn high. A few Banelings rolling in. I can't tell how intentional those movements are. He's doing some, like, patrol splits here. HeroMarine, but CG up more. Go to the big Gabe cam. Wow, as he locks down the bases, micros back the Marines into the medevacs, gets knocked out immediately. Story of the game. But still, even as all this happens, making sure that he has the production continuing. You can see right here how quickly he cycles through the production in the army, making sure he always has more units. Always be crafting. ABCs. When it comes to Terran especially, that consistent cadence of queuing units is the most important part. Yeah, you might lose a few extra Marines and Marauders while you're looking the other way, but if you can replace them with twice as many, well, that's just basic math. As Fjant, down 70 supply, not willing to tap it out yet. But we saw that little Zergling rush, which still did more than it ever should have. But the Widow Mines be cleaned up. HeroMarine, part of the reason his army isn't that strong is he has 86 SCVs, which is more than enough at this stage of the game. The Widow Mine gets another chunk on its way out. The Death Rattle is too much. 3-3 upgrades are done. And it's all over but the G's. 3-3. Widow Mines cleaned up. Lurkers. Well, Lurker. Spirited attempt, but he's getting spirited away. Those Banelings are getting about as much damage as they could ever dream of. And what else would Banelings dream of, to be honest? He refuses to die. I'm sure Fiant knows the desperate nature of his position. But he's gonna make HeroMarine work for it. Which I'm sure is creating a bit of a salt. No, not that. A bit of a salty situation, if you will. But that's just Terran in a nutshell. Couple lurkers, but the ghosts are already here. Line up their shots and knock them out. Covers for the snipes. One lurker left. The Baneling's getting so much damage, but gee, HeroMarine takes it 2-1. And it didn't look particularly close. But a cheeky proxy hatch brings us right into our anti-spoiler bonus game of Fiance against Clem. Will he do it again? Will he go for the proxy? I feel like I may have spoiled it by it being part of this video. But let me introduce, on Ruby Rock, Fiance sending out a drone at the beginning of the game versus Team Liquid's Clem, who you may have heard of. Yeah, here we go. Now we see if there's any differences between how he treats big... You know, consistency is key, but inconsistency is also key. So I don't really have a point when I'm... Yep, just slaps it down. Clem gets the super hidden treatment. Even further away, so that way even if... This one is far out of range. Like, he just clicked on it with some... Oh, he's got a rally right there. You might be like, oh, how does he know? No, he's just rallying to the center of his natural, which is a normal place to put it. It just so happens. It looks real suspicious, doesn't it? But it just so happens that there's a hatchery there. Clem can't know that, but I'm sure he has his suspicions. He knows who he's playing. Fiance is a high Grandmaster Zerg. If Clem plays the ladder, and he does, he is 2 of the top 3 players on the European ladder. Fun fact. The first is Cyril, second is Clem as Protoss, and third is Clem as Terran. Puzzle that one out. Do whatever, draw whatever conclusions you'd like, but... Yeah, the SCV! Mm-hmm. Oh, why, hello there! The hatchery already mostly complete. The boys! The boys are pulled! And the SCVs? Well, I'm sure Clem has his thoughts on exactly how much day. Is he gonna try to get a bunker? He doesn't have enough minerals because he pulled too many SCVs. That should still be in range. Spine crawlers in production. I mean, there's a Reaper and a bunch of SCVs, so... Well, they're gonna go straight for the spines. SCVs will get the work done. Gonna reposition. But without the Queen, this is optimistic. He loses one, which is incredibly rough. Will the bunker finish by the time the Queen comes out? It's close. He may be able to buy... Oh, but it finishes and he can repair. Which is gonna make this significantly more difficult. Did he just pop out, throw a grenade, and pop back in before everyone even noticed? And, well, 5 SCVs dead. He's targeting the Queen. The bunker finishing is a huge... Well, okay. Huh. The spine crawler is on the way. Queen. Clem's micro is near perfect, but still painful. He loses a lot. Excuse me, I'm allergic to such sharp cheese. And the spine crawler is being target fired. Another Marine on its way down. And the Queen taken out as well is a big part. He can target fire the SCVs with the spot. Oh! Dodging spine crawler hits. Oh. Well, now he can't because he has too many units, but... This was so close to breaking through. But I feel like Clem has turned the corner on it. That spine crawler needed to live. All the pieces were so close, but they never quite came together. And now the bunker holds. The Reaper, a Hellion comes out, and Clem with just immaculate micro. The Queen? Oh, but he's gonna hunt her down and take her out. And now there's just not enough units. Fjant has the drone count he started with. He's building 3 drones here, which seems very optimistic. He never got Zergling speed. This was full mineral only. Oh my. It's a disaster. Clem really showing a different style of defense. And I think that would have worked against anyone else, even Big Gabe. Well, on this map, Big Gabe lost. But he didn't have a bunker. So, a very, very desperate Roach Warren is on the way. Clem will see there's absolutely no... And then the Zerglings on the ramp. But Clem with his pixel-perfect micro is, too much. GG! What a defense. Bringing us to our anti-spoiler game of Fjant versus Cristiano. Will he do it again? Come on. Come on. Come on. Did you just put together a video of all the times he proxy hatched? Not all of them. You might save that for later. But yes. Spoilers. Like and subscribe for the spoiler shield in the comments. But that feels counterproductive. Moving on. Cristiano says GLHF. Fiance says nothing. Though I might point out, ever since the countdown before the game of the 3, 2, 1, which we don't usually see because Jimmy cuts too late, but you can't actually see any chat from that. It doesn't show up because it wasn't part of the game yet. It was in the before times, before Amon created the world or something. So, in case Fiant did say GLHF. But you know what? Let's just pretend Cristiano says GLHF, Fiant says nothing, sends a drone out. We'll see. See how it goes for him. Oh, that was so close against Clem, too. Clem, I honestly think it was an overcommitment. It's just his might. That Clem gets away with so much because he's Clem. it's not unfair because he's Clem. It's no one else can pull off like dodging Spinecrawler shots with a bunker, the repair micro, the Reaper somehow dancing through the SCVs, Fjant with the classic 3 hatch before pool. Not exactly how you normally think of it, but here we are. And the probe's gonna see it. The probe's on the other side of the map, looking around, seeing a severe, no gas, no spawning pool, just started. So this is a placeholder hatchery. A zealot is being chrono boosted out. Gotta be careful. Well, he already has a second pilot in the main, so yeah, he's gonna make 2 zealots. He knows there aren't Zerglings. You cannot build Zerglings without a spawning pool. All right, sorry. Zerg truthers. We already talked about facts. I'm all about the facts. Need a spawning pool. That's how it is. So, does he let it finish? I don't think so. Does he try to do the Evo chamber in the spot of creep? Maybe he tries to get a couple Zerglings. We're waiting. Whoa, yeah! So, when the hatchery dies or is canceled, more accurately, well, both, I think, but it's only relevant here. You have just enough creep to, for a split second, get an evolution chamber, technically a spawning pool or any other building. Now, the use of that is to block for a little bit longer. It obviously isn't very effective when they've already got 2 zealots slicing through it, but well, the zealots are kind of jogging across the map. The adepts more fancy in their moves, but it's 2 zealots and 2 adepts, which is a lot to deal with for a Zerg on such a low economy and no Zergling speed. Obviously, Cristiano doesn't want to commit. Wait, how did Zerglings in my base? It could happen to you. But citizens arrest. The probes are, well, no. There's no third base. Oh, awkward. The drone comes back. Unfortunately, deja vu. We've just been in this place before. Another base gets canceled by the zealots. Where do we go from here? Fjant has to have a plan. Right? Like, there has to be a follow-up here that isn't just make a bunch of Zerglings and pray. Because this proxy hatch was clearly not intended to be a game-winning move, but instead to kind of throw the game into such an awkward spot that Protoss... So, it's to drag the game into the mud and drown them with experience. That is what these sort of strategies are, more than outright winning. Thing is, he's lost 7 drones to the Adepts and the Oracle, which is quite a hefty chunk of his economy. And the third base severely delayed, though the Oracle will be forced to stay on the home front and defend against the Lynx, because otherwise he's not going to be able to get a third. Now the Overlord saunters in. Did he build that there, like, so the Overlord could see it? Just be it kind of him, or literally autopilot? Unclear. Because if Cristiano had waited like 3 more seconds, the Overlord wouldn't have been seeing anything at all. So, an odd choice, but I honestly don't think he cares that much. And then, of course, it adds that little bit of doubt of, is that really what you're going for? Because you built it right in front of my face, which makes it seem pretty obvious. But I think this is just charge and +1, which Hero has repopularized. We made it 5 games, right? 5? 5. Without talking about Hero. Of course, there weren't any Protoss till now, but... Or maybe I did talk about Hero before. You never know. It's impossible to tell. Nobody can remember what happened in the other games, okay? It's concerning. Anyways, charge +1. Templar Archives on the way. Lair coming up for Fiance. But the Oracles will dart in and pick off a few more drones. Lancing right through. Roaches and... it's a German taxi bill. Or so it seems. A big roach all-in with an attempt to bring queens as anti-air support. Unfortunately, this is going right up against potentially Archon charge lot. And Cristiano is not getting too greedy about it. Though he's still only on 4 gates, which is the most we would make in Wings of Liberty, and a very small amount now. Couple Dropper Lords on the way. More gateways being added on. And the Roach is... Get Susan! Lucille, get in! We get our... Oh, there's finally some space to spread out. Really? That was the concern? You never know. I get leg cramps. Okay, Brenda. It's a real concern. Sorry, I blacked out for... Now, Cristiano, he's gonna have charge completed. Loses a couple units out front to the first Zerglings. The Dropper Lords will be spotted, which is quite a giveaway. Archons in production. And he's got 3 Archons, which is already a dangerous amount. Some creep spread may be needed. Dropping the creep. One of the Overlords will be barely saved. And the knocks down one of the Oracles. And with Transfuse, well, the shield battery's out of energy. Juggling the Archons back and forth, forcing the retarget. The Queen's trying to step back. The Overlord that was dropping creep is taken out. The only thing potentially saving the day are the Transfuses. But unfortunately, I think it's too little and too late. If this had hit somehow a minute early... Oh! A gruesome, painful, and almost inevitable death for the Queens. But Cristiano just locks things down way too solidly. And, well, the Zerglings get in. He's gonna go for the pylon powering 2 robos. He could use the Warp Prism to repower it, which it would be a little fancy, but delays Immortals slightly. Even drags the Archons back into the main. But now it's just flailing in desperation, as Cristiano clearly has the army to beat, and he's gonna use it to beat Fjant down. Technically, the mass roaches have more army supply. Technically. But Immortal Archon with some charge lots and stalkers smattered in against unupgraded. Did he lose some more drones? He's down to 44. I don't know if there was a counterattack. He's lost plenty throughout this. The Zerglings desperate to get another probe. But the Roaches and Ravagers on the way. And there's a whisper of a dream of breaking through with maybe a few perfect corrosive vials, but even a single charge lot yeeting itself into the mineral mine is an existential threat to the economy. But you gotta go for it. He doesn't... Cristiano is not even doing him the dignity of coming across the map, which is possibly the only way he loses. There's effectively no hope of breaking this army, but if it was in the middle of the open field, there's a tiny chance. Fjant setting up from both sides, but that is a beefy Protoss army, worth almost double the value. Gets in the Immortals. He's gonna split. The force fields are pretty good, and finally lock out the rest. He blasts through the Roaches at the natural. He easily dissects and the charge lots in the main. Just a G. After all that, maybe there wasn't a GLHF. But Cristiano with a comfortable victory. Despite, well, that proxy hatch may be the least dramatic of all of them. Clearly not as impactful against the Protoss as it was against the Terrans, but a different flavor of Zerg. And unfortunately also a demonstration of why we don't usually see that other flavor. But sometimes a little bit different is a little bit fun. And hopefully it makes your day a little bit better. Thank you for watching. If you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. which we use to help sponsor many of these tournaments, though technically not Homestory Cup, though we'll maybe look into that in the future. Anyways, but liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you for watching, and thank you to our Mule Tier patrons, Big Jiggy, Devin, Door, Kate, Mario Suit. Glad you still enjoyed everyone. And if you haven't yet checked out this video, Jimmy picked out one just for you. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun, stay chill.